I believe there's 7 or 8 bullet holes in the front of my house. It kind of depends on how you count it, because one went through one of my posts and then through my house, through several walls of my house. It was kind of alarming how many of the bullet holes or the rounds went through multiple walls of my house. So probably, I don't know, 11:30ish or so, I hear, I kind of hear yelling outside. With proximity to the school and, neighbors, we've got a lot of teenage neighbors, it didn't register right away. I kind of heard it and didn't really think anything of it until I recognized a definitive, help, help, help. And it sounded like a young man's voice. And so I kind of, I woke up and I went down my stairs to my door. And I heard, I heard help, like I said, open the door, and I asked him, what's going on? And he said, I've been shot. And that's exactly, it was like, oh. And then I recognized in his hand, he's holding a gun. He's holding a handgun. But he wasn't holding it right. It had a laser sight on it, and it was pointed towards him. I remember seeing the light like on his arm or on his chest. So he was kind of cradling it. So I told him, get rid of the gun, get rid of the gun. He tossed the gun kind of onto the sidewalk, in the grass in front of my house, and collapsed in the street there. So I had my phone in my hand because I grabbed it when he, was calling for help. So I initially see that he's got a gunshot wound to the chest. I put pressure, I cover the wound, and I immediately pressure on the wound because he's bleeding pretty good. Dialed 911. Call in, hey, I've got, a young male, a 16-year-old male with a gunshot wound to the chest. Like his mother and his sister, his younger sister, came out of the house. And I remember hearing them screaming, he's got a gun, he's gonna kill us. And I don't remember distinctly seeing that he was pulling long guns out of his car, but I remember that he was the threat. I remember that he was our danger. So I ran in the house to grab my handgun. And by the time I made it back to the front porch, thankfully, mom and sister had grabbed the young man and met me at my front door. And so I grabbed him in my house, locked the door. They collapsed to the top of my stairs, and I believe at that point is when I heard shooting. That's when I heard like shots going off, and I remember telling them like, no, we can't stay right here because my whole front entrance is glass. And I grabbed the boy and I don't know, with their assistance, kind of helped him downstairs because the split level, it's slightly underground. So I just remember thinking that's going to be cover. So I grabbed him downstairs, put him by the wall, grabbed a rag from my laundry room, told mom and sister, here, put pressure on it. And I remember thinking this guy's going to come after us. He saw where we went. He watched them come to the house. So I ran back upstairs, and by that point, he'd already shot the front of my house. The glass was broken. I was running barefoot up the broken glass on my stairs, and came up to the top of my stairs. And I have a big bay window, so I can see outside, and I can see everything. So I posted up at the top of my stairs, waiting for him to come in my house after us. And at this point, he's shooting. He never stopped shooting. It sounded like big guns, rifles. I'm not really sure. I couldn't see clearly exactly what he had, but I could see him standing by his car, or excuse me, his truck, shooting at my house and kind of shooting into the air. There was a couple of times, as I was kind of posted up there, I saw him switching clips. And at this point, I'm trying to decide, do I go out and take him out while he's changing clips? I'm thinking about going around the outside of my house to the side and trying to see if I have a shot there. But I remember I've got these 3 people in my house that if I go out the back and he comes in, they're sitting ducks. I remember seeing the police lights come in like the very end of the cul-de-sac, and he was shooting at them as they rolled on. Like he never stopped shooting. He was switching clips. He was shooting on my house. He was shooting at them. So there was, some additional shots. There was a lot of yelling. I heard, put the gun down, put the gun down. Like I said, lots of shooting. At that point, he was engaged in dealing with them. I couldn't see it clearly, but I saw him go down, and then I saw the officers kind of move in, starting to, kind of sweep the cul-de-sac. at that point, I put my handgun down because I don't want to be seen as a threat. So I had set my gun down and opened the door and hollered out the door, I need medical, I've got the victims in here, we need help, we need help. And at that point, the cops came, quick cleared the area, then they brought in the ambulance, the medics. No, it's not my safe space anymore, but I'm really thankful, like I said, that I did have my own handgun, in that I didn't feel like I was sitting here waiting for him to come kill us. I was ready to protect us if necessary. And I can't imagine how much worse I would be feeling if I didn't have my own handgun, if I would have been sitting there waiting for him to finish us off. So that I'm very thankful for, that I do at least have that. Okay. But yeah, it's definitely not quite the relaxing, safe space that that it used to be.